form a more perfect
union, establish justice,
ensure
domestic
tranquility,
promote
the general welfare,
and secure the blessings
of liberty to ourselves
and our posterity.
Do ordain and establish this Constitution
for the United States of America.
Tonight, Apple Computer is proud to present Funny You Don't Look 200, a celebration of the U.S. Constitution, starring Richard Dreyfuss.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I love it. But I think there's something more. I think there's something more than fireworks.
People love fireworks. I love fireworks. Fireworks are fun, and the fireworks were my idea.
I admit that fireworks are fun, but I think that if we're going to celebrate the bicentennial of the American Constitution, that it should be more thoughtful.
Don't say thoughtful. See, thoughtful is not a TV word.
Just look. The Constitution is, in fact, about something, isn't it? I mean, it contains some of the world's greatest ideas. Popular sovereignty, representative democracy.
How about we do a retrospective of your films? We could do the whole thing. I don't like the panties on the line. Everybody loves that.
That's good.
We're sticking with the American Constitution.
Richard, in all honesty, don't you think it might be a little too intellectual?
What's wrong with intellectual?
Billions and billions of words ago.
No, look, the Constitution has changed all of our lives. It is not just a dull, dry document.
Don't say dull. Don't say dry.
Don't say document.
Hi, Lily. Hi, Lily. Hi, Lo. Look, the Constitution has seeped into the fabric of our lives.
Well, what exactly does that mean?
Are you nuts or something? Stand on the 18th Amendment? You mean stand on the 5th Amendment? The 18th Amendment was for prohibition. Well, that's just what I mean. Tell him you were drunk when you made out your tax.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's in our popular culture.
It's trendy.
It's hip.
You gotta fight for your right to vote.
Not that hip. I got it.
Hey, Richard!
Whoopi, Rhea. Hi.
Right here. What do you want us to do?
We're figuring it out now. Why don't you wait in the green room, and we'll be with you in a couple of seconds.
All right.
Richard, you look so thin.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thin.
I got it.
Richard, what do we do?
Hey!
Hey, Richard, I'm so excited. Where do we go?
There's punch and cookies in the green room.
Punch and cookies?
Yeah, organic punch and organic cookies.
Is there anything real to eat?
There's a pig roasting in the green room for you, Emilio.
I got it. Come on, now, I really got it. Now, look, we have an hour of American primetime television to talk about the Constitution of the United States. Now, come on, it's Plymouth Rock, you know, it's Valley Forge, a government of the people, by the people, for the people.
That's the Gettysburg Address.
Oh. I knew that.
Look, this show has to accomplish two things. Number one, and number two,
Miss Judith Beasley for the American Constitution.
Hi, I am not a professional actress. I am a real person like yourself. How many times have you heard the phrase, the one thing a good home needs is a firm foundation? I have no idea. Until recently, I did not even realize that a firm foundation is not enough. A home also needs a strong constitution. This one. A 14-by-20 replica of the principles that have made our nation great. Artfully parched and laminated. And look, the text has been pre-wrinkled by a team of distress experts. Certainly a stunning addition to any wall or coffee table lying barren around your home. When the manufacturer, Articles by Mail, Inc. of Austin, Texas, approached me and said, Judith, you will be doing a great service to the American housewife by endorsing this patriotic product. Naturally, I was skeptical. The Constitution is not something to be hawked on television like a household appliance or some common bathroom supply. It is the very basis of the American way of life, the blueprint laid down 200 years ago by our forefathers. It is not for nothing that the men came together 200 years ago. Excuse me, but where were our foremothers? No one ever speaks about them. Where were they during this process? Sewing flags, picking up the kids at Valley Forge, doing the Martha Washington workout? Why, as I read this thing, I don't see a single mention of women of any sort, not to mention mothers. What were these men thinking? Didn't they realize that the backbone of any free society is the equal rights for all members of that society? Now, I know that sounds like a quote, but the truth is I just made it up. However, it makes so much sense, I'm sure somebody famous just has to have said it. It was probably a woman. If there'd been women writing the Constitution, we wouldn't have had that messy struggle over the slavery issue in later years. Because women know what it is to be enslaved, believe me. Am I coming on too strong? Just thinking about the many contributions women might have made to this Constitution makes me furious enough to just want to rip it up. Perhaps that's why it is laminated. It will never be torn up. It will just sit on a coffee table and quietly turn yellow like the original. Come to think of it, unlike the original, this will never change. The original can be amended. So there is no reason on earth for you to have this one. Forget it. It's a bum steer with only limited historical interest. Wait for our new, improved edition of the American Constitution once we get our hands on it.
You know, there are those who say that the Constitution is only 200 years old, so why make such a fuss? After all, there are many nations in the world that have lasted a lot longer than that, and America is only a blink in the eye of history. But it is incredible, not only that this experiment has lasted for 200 years, but that it has mightily affected the rest of the Western world. Now, the truth is, there are 2 billion people, at least, on this planet who go to sleep at night never thinking about the American Constitution. It does not affect their lives. But there are 400 million people in what is known as the West whose personal and political lives have been changed irrevocably by this document. It has given them an entirely new vocabulary, an entirely new agenda.
In our courts, all men are created equal.
We'll be right back. Our writers are not the only ones who can't get a grasp on the Constitution. You want to hear a funny story? You know how Americans love to celebrate? Well, for the first 100 years that we had this country, we threw a party for the Declaration of Independence every 4th of July. You know what I mean. We applauded it. We made speeches about it. Now, all this time, the Constitution was running the country. The rules it had given us were making this country work. So finally, on the centennial of the Constitution, it occurred to someone that maybe we ought to celebrate it. Only they had to search for it because they couldn't quite remember where they last saw it. The document that defines us, that Prime Minister William Gladstone of England called the most remarkable work produced by the human intellect in modern times. The document that practices what the Declaration preaches had been forgotten. Now, they finally remembered where they'd put it. It had been stashed away in a little tin box in a closet in the old executive office building. This is a true story. So they put it on display, and people started to come and look at it. They didn't actually read it, of course, except maybe the we the people part. But in a funny way, I don't think that mattered, because by that time, they were using the Constitution every day. Okay, guys, what do you got?
All right, look, what exactly should we be accomplishing here? I mean, what are we after?
Let's say that we're going to try to answer 2 questions, okay? First, how do we celebrate the bicentennial of the American Constitution?
Right. Yeah.
And 2, why bother?
I like that.
Yeah. Listen to me. I know the Constitution doesn't draw attention to itself. I know that. It doesn't sing, you know, except maybe a little in the preamble. But the point is, we're not talking about the words. We're not talking about the words that they wrote in 1787 in Philadelphia. We're talking about
the ideas more.
The ideas. We're talking about the ideas behind the words. We're talking about the spirit of the thing. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Look, he has no idea what he's talking about, so
we have to do something. If you say constitutional on TV, people think of a diarrhea commercial.
You know, many people read history as if it were fiction. They don't really believe that history happened. They think that what they have now is the way it's always been. Today, for instance, we see the world from a particular perspective. We use certain phrases like, I know my rights, or there ought to be a law. But there was a time before those phrases. There was a time before those concepts came into being when people thought of themselves in an entirely different way. Let's go back.
Not that far back. Hey, can I do this part?
Who is that? Jiminy?
Who do you think?
Knock yourself out.
Well, this is my specialty. Gosh, I haven't done this in a long time. In the days before our Constitution, life was organized in a very rigid way. Everybody had only one place to be, and he was born into it. Starting right here. There was the king, and he knew where he had to be, and that was on top of everybody else. And the nobles were right under the king, but then they got to be on top of everybody else. And the clergy right under them were on top of everybody else. The lawyers and the tradesmen, they were all in their turn on top of everybody else. And everybody else was you and me, bub. That was the world before the Constitution. What you were was all you could expect. You were simply worth less than the guy on top of you. The king loved it, but it wasn't too great down here. The Constitution changed all that. It said the world was not rigid. It was fluid. It said that man was not limited by his station. He was limited only by his talent and his energy. It said that great words were not just words, that they were the way people could really live. It said men and women were not helpless before the powers that be. They were the powers that be.
Psst. Tell them about the money men.
The money men?
You know.
Oh, the men on the money. There's Washington on the dollar, Alexander Hamilton on the $10 bill, Ben Franklin on the $100 bill, James Madison on the $5,000 bill. These are some of the guys who made it happen. They took a world like this and made it like this. Watch. Wow. Would you look at that? Now hold it a minute, bub. There. That's better.
Thanks, Jiminy.
Anytime. Bye now.
Look. It's very difficult to talk about the importance of all this because the Constitution is not a poem like the Declaration of Independence, and it's not a symbol like the Statue of Liberty, but the Declaration of Independence is just talk without the Constitution of the United States. It may be that the American character was created in that gesture. And it meant that we are arrogant and naive and open-hearted and optimistic and aggressive. That picture was created then. So we have this idea of what it means to be American. And that means we also have an idea of what it is to be un-American, and that's funny because we have no such idea of what it is to be un-French or un-German or un-Swedish. Excuse me!
Joey, what is the Constitution?
What did you say?
I said, I don't understand anything about this. What is your talking about?
Just a minute, Duck. Excuse me.
Huh?
Do you think you could help me out a little bit in this scene?
Sure.
Now then, you were saying?
You gotta tell us what the Constitution is. What is this? What is this? Hello? Hello?
You really want to know what it is, Donald? It's a roadmap. It's an operating manual for a government.
Oh, you mean words?
Well, yes, but what we're celebrating isn't the Constitution itself, really, but the ideas within it, you know, the spirit of the thing.
What else you got?
Look, We're talking about the fact that people were handed responsibility for their own lives, that the power to govern was given to the people. This is exciting stuff, Donald. The people became the ruling class, you know? Popular sovereignty, representative democracy, checks and balances.
Checks and balances. I knew I'd hear that in this show. That's all I ever hear about.
I know, but it's not what you think. This is not just about the executive and the legislative and all that. This is about people. People and power. This is very sexy stuff, Donald. See, the Constitution created a balance between good and bad, between conscience and appetite. It's about human nature. It's about balancing human nature.
Wait a minute. Get a hold of yourself. I want to know what it is. What it is.
Oh, you mean the essential nature of it, the central thematic...
Read my bill. What it is.
Oh, what it is. That's what it is, Donald. It's a foundation, and it stretches everywhere. But it's more than that. It influences our sense of humor and our books and our movies. It's in our popular culture.
What it is, what it is, what it is.
Watch this, Donald.
Wow, how did you do that?
Here's the real beauty of the Constitution, Donald. It's here, even though you can't see it.
Okay, that's a start. You have 21 minutes to go.
Roll those clips!
The Constitution of the United States.
All I know is as an American, it's my right to pack a rod. Bull! What do you mean, bull to the Constitution?
The rights of the individual stop when it affects the marriage.
You got a warrant?
What?
What have I got to worry about? I'm an American citizen. Yep. Got my rights. I'm a taxpayer.
What?
And you say no cops?
No cop can come in here without a warrant.
I can't hardly believe it.
Well, I'm all broken up about that man's rights.
I am simply trying to prevent the clock stoppers from dumping a lot of medieval nonsense into the United States Constitution. You got a warrant?
Ted, the First Amendment guarantees the freedom of the press. You don't ever have to reveal your source, even to a grand jury.
Right. True, but you can go to jail if you don't.
Ted. Shut up, Lou.
Nothing's riding on this except the First Amendment of the Constitution, freedom of the press, and maybe the future of the country.
Shut up, Lou.
I don't know how you treat your women in Cuba, but this is the United States, and I have my rights.
I demand my constitutional rights.
Okay, so, what do we got here? Well, we have a constitution of some 7,000 words. That's pretty short. The people who wrote this Constitution kept it short, kept it general, because they trusted us. And they trusted the process that they'd created. They made a compact with their future, with their children, and their children's children. Let me tell you why I'm doing this show. My children will be teenagers in the year 2000, and frankly, I want to give them something more than a car and a credit card. I want them to be part of that compact. Because the survival of that compact is a collective act of will. It's not a given thing, it's something we have to do. It's an act. It's a verb. And what is the bicentennial of that compact? It's not just a party. Although a party is a good thing, it's an oath. It's a daily reaffirmation of faith in the future of that compact and of this nation. The Constitution was written in the 18th century by 55 men in powdered wigs who wore knee breeches and read by candlelight. And we stand here now at the end of the 20th century, and for some reason we have confidence that this compact will last into the 21st century and beyond. And not just here, but out there, Isn't that amazing? When we think of stepping off the planet Earth, what do we plan to take with us? A little water, a little beef jerky, and as viable a way as was ever created for people to live together, and that is the Constitution of the United States of America. One more thing. It's not enough to honor the Constitution. We have to pass it on.
What we are trying to say by this display is this. Unless we are vigilant, unless we uphold our responsibilities as free citizens, the Constitution and all it represents will be no more. Thank you.